We tend to think of human memory as this incredibly fragile, delicate thing.
Oh, totally.
Like a photograph fades if you leave it out in the sun, or a digital hard drive inevitably gets corrupted, or the formatting just becomes obsolete, right?
Yeah, try opening a file from 1998. It's impossible.
Exactly. And even our own biological minds, they rewrite the past a little bit every single time we try to access a memory. So as a species, we are constantly, fundamentally losing the record of where we've been.
It really is it's the defining struggle of human history. Our grip on the past is just incredibly tenuous.
Yeah.
I mean, we build these massive climate-controlled archives, university libraries, and sprawling subterranean server farms, just desperately trying to hold on to information that naturally wants to decay.
Right, because of basic entropy.
Exactly. The laws of entropy dictate that it all wants to break down. We are obsessed with creating permanence precisely because we experience so very little of it in our daily lives.
But then you step outside, you look down at the dirt, and you pick up a stone. And suddenly, without needing a massive server farm, without a specialized degree in archival science, you are holding a perfectly preserved, entirely uncorrupted memory that might be 400 million years old.
It's mind-blowing when you really stop to think about it.
It doesn't fade in the sun. It doesn't need to be plugged in. It doesn't have its firmware updated. It just sits there carrying the exact unyielding record of the pressure, the heat, and the precise environmental conditions that forged it.
It really is the absolute ultimate form of planetary memory.
Yeah.
When you pick up a piece of unpolished quartz or a fossil, you are literally holding geological permanence in the palm of your hand.
And that contrast, right, between our incredibly fast-paced, fragile, constantly updating digital world and the deep, silent endurance of the Earth, that is at the absolute center of the material we are diving into today.
It really is the anchor of the whole thing.
So we're looking at a massive, multi-layered June 2026 release from a seemingly unassuming shop out of Taylorsville, Utah, called Crystals by Rob.
And, if you just glance at the surface, you might think you're just looking at an inventory update for a crystal shop that ships globally.
Just a standard newsletter.
Right. Just a list of rocks for sale. But when you actually read into the philosophy and the curation of this specific drop, it is a masterclass in synthesis.
It really is.
What we are really looking at here is the intersection of ancient geology, deeply rooted historical human traditions, and modern metaphysical practices. It forces you to look at a simple rock and see thousands of years of human philosophy reflected right back at you.
So if you are listening right now, and especially if you lean toward the skeptical side, or if you're someone who just loves a good hard science geology lesson.
Oh, we have plenty of geology today.
So much geology. Or, if you're a seasoned practitioner, this deep dive is going to fundamentally reframe how you view the minerals beneath your feet. Because the central philosophy driving all of this isn't just about pretty rocks on a shelf.
No, not at all.
It's about an unexplainable shift, that tactile, undeniable feeling that occurs when the right stone finds the right person.
Which is something we really shouldn't just write off as modern mysticism.
Right, it's not just a social media trend.
Exactly. That instinct, the drive to reach for a stone, to ground ourselves, to feel physically connected to something larger and older than our own anxieties, that is a historically documented human phenomenon.
We've been doing it forever.
We have been doing this since the literal dawn of humanity. It is a psychological and physical instinct that spans across continents and millennia.
Okay, well, let's get into the actual stones, because the specific curation for this mid-2026 drop is fascinating.
It's so deliberate.
Very deliberate, because the energy right now globally is moving incredibly fast. People are feeling unmoored, scattered, and just deeply untethered. And to combat this, the featured crystal of the month isn't some flashy, neon-colored, artificially dyed geode.
Thank goodness.
Right. It's a stone called actinolite in quartz.
It's a brilliant choice because, honestly, actinolite is not the flashiest thing you can pull out of the earth.
No, it's pretty subtle.
It is. It doesn't have the immediate, aggressive visual drama of a blazing purple cathedral amethyst or the electric metallic blue of a kyanite blade. It's quieter.
Yeah.
It's deeper. But geologically and historically, it is one of the most significant minerals you could possibly interact with.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's break down the actual mechanics here. What exactly is actinolite, chemically speaking?
So, from a geological perspective, actinolite belongs to the amphibole mineral group.
Okay.
It's an iron-magnesium silicate. But the most crucial thing to understand is not just what it's made of, but the violent crucible in which it forms. Actinolite is born in the deep, highly pressurized environments of metamorphic rock.
Okay, I want to pause and really unpack that because the word metamorphic gets thrown around in middle school earth science, and I think we lose the sheer scale of what it means.
We completely do. It just becomes a vocab word.
Exactly. Metamorphic rock isn't like igneous rock, which just cools down from liquid magma. And it's not sedimentary rock, which is just layers of doot and sand casually building up over millions of years.
Yes, it's entirely different.
Metamorphic rock is created through intense, almost unfathomable heat and pressure applied to existing rock. It is literally squeezed and baked by tectonic plates crashing together so intensely that the rock is fundamentally reorganized at the molecular level.
But without ever actually melting into a liquid. That's the crazy part.
Right. It stays solid while completely rebuilding itself.
It is a mineral born of absolute structural transformation. The original minerals are subjected to conditions that would vaporize organic life.
Just obliterate us.
Oh, instantly. And they emerge from that pressure cooker, entirely changed, incredibly resilient, and structurally fortified. Physically, actinolite typically survives this process by forming into these tough, fibrous, or bladed crystal structures.
And the color.
It usually ranges from a pale, almost milky green to a deep, dark forest green.
Which ties perfectly into the etymology. The name actinolite comes straight from ancient Greek. The root is actis, which translates to ray or beam.
Right.
And when you look at it, the crystal formations radiate outward, spreading like literal rays of light captured and frozen in a mineral form.
It's a very accurate name.
And the specific specimens being highlighted in this release are actinolite in quartz from Brazil. So you have these green, fibrous, bladed rays embedded deep within a clear, icy quartz matrix.
It's stunning.
When you hold it up to the light, you see these green fibers catching and scattering the light inside the stone.
And that tough fibrous structure isn't just visually interesting, it actually dictated how ancient humans used it.
How so?
Well, long before it had the scientific classification of actinolite in the late 18th century, ancient cultures figured out that these fibrous green stones were incredibly durable.
Because of that intense pressure cooker formation.
Exactly. They were highly resistant to shattering. So, early humans actually used varieties of this mineral as a strengthening component in tools and weapons. They trusted their survival to the physical resilience of this stone.
Okay, wait. I'm going to stop you there because I need to make sure I'm hearing this next part right. In the notes regarding the historical lineage of this stone, it mentions jade.
Yes.
Jade is arguably the most famous, revered stone in human history. Are you telling me it isn't even its own unique mineral? It's just a byproduct of this actinolite stuff?
Yep.
How did it take until the 18th century to figure that out?
Well, because for thousands of years, humanity didn't categorize stones by their chemical composition under a microscope.
Right, they just cared about what worked.
Exactly. They categorized them by their utility, their toughness, and their spiritual resonance.
Yeah.
But yes, geologically speaking, nephrite jade, which is one of the two true minerals officially classified as jade, is primarily composed of actinolite and a closely related mineral called tremolite.
That is wild.
They are fundamentally the same material.
That is a massive realization. When we talk about the historical weight of jade, we are essentially talking about the historical weight of actinolite.
Precisely. And that historical footprint is staggering. In ancient China, nephrite jade was considered the ultimate material. It was valued significantly higher than gold or silver.
Really? More than gold?
Oh, by far.
Yeah.
They called it the stone of heaven. The philosophical belief was that this specific mineral was a literal physical bridge between the mortal world and the realm of the divine.
Right. This is where you see those incredible jade burial suits. They literally took thousands of pieces of this stone, which we now know is essentially actinolite, and sewed them together with gold wire to completely encase the bodies of the honored dead.
It must have taken years to make just one.
I can't even imagine the labor, but
Yeah.
the logic is so fascinating. They observed that this stone did not decay, that it survived everything, so they believed wrapping a body in it would transfer that geological permanence to the human soul, preventing spiritual decay.
It's a profound transfer of material properties to spiritual properties.
Yeah.
And we see similar logic on the other side of the world, too.
Right, in New Zealand.
Yes, in Maori culture, nephrite jade is known as punamu, or greenstone. And it is still held in supreme cultural and spiritual reverence today. Objects carved from punamu are considered tanga, meaning treasures.
Okay.
But it goes deeper than just being a treasure. These stones are believed to literally absorb and carry the mana, the spiritual power, authority, and life force of their owners.
So when a Maori warrior or leader passes down a Heitiki pendant carved from this stone, they aren't just handing down a piece of jewelry.
No, not at all.
They're handing down their actual ancestral authority. The stone acts as a hard drive for human spirit.
Exactly. It's a storage device for lineage. And if you cross the Pacific to Mesoamerica, you find the Olmec, the Maya, and the Aztec cultures revering jade above all else.
Wow, it really is everywhere.
It's a universal human instinct with this specific stone. For them, the green color wasn't just pretty, it was the color of life itself. It represented water, which was survival, and the young green shoots of maize, which was sustenance.
So it literally meant staying alive.
Yeah. They placed jade beads in the mouths of the dead to serve as the heart in the afterlife. They carved masks out of it to give their ancestors immortal faces.
When you lay it out like that, it fundamentally changes what it means to hold a piece of this stone. You aren't just holding a neat green rock from Brazil.
Right.
You are holding a mineral that is chemically kin to the most sacred, powerful material in some of the most sophisticated civilizations in human history.
Which is exactly why a modern practitioner reaches for it today. The metaphysical application of actinolite is entirely rooted in that geological and historical reality.
It's all connected.
The energy of this stone is deeply terrestrial. It is earth-rooted. When you are working with a mineral forged in a metamorphic crucible, you are working with the ultimate symbol of surviving pressure.
So when the world feels chaotic, when the 2026 news cycle is moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour, this is the anchor.
Exactly.
And the practical application here is really grounded. The notes suggest you hold it in both hands during breath work to force your awareness out of your racing mind and down into your physical body.
It acts like a physical weight for your attention.
Or you place it at the base of the spine, the root chakra, to draw that ancient, unyielding stability up into your nervous system.
And remember, the synergy of the specific specimens we are discussing from Rob's shop. These are actinolite and quartz.
Right, the clear matrix around it.
Yes.
Yeah.
In almost every crystal healing tradition, clear quartz is recognized as an amplifier. It is the master clarifier. So the quartz acts almost like a lens, gathering that deep, protective, ancient resilience of the actinolite and projecting it outward. It stabilizes the environment around you.
But this reliance on stones to alter our environment or our internal state isn't just an isolated practice.
No, it's part of a huge system.
It leads us directly into a much broader, much more complex framework that is a major focus right now, which is crystal witchcraft. And I love how the source material frames this because it strips away a lot of the Hollywood misconceptions.
It really does. It requires us to define our terms carefully. Crystal witchcraft, as an actual practice, is the intersection of two distinct disciplines.
Okay, let's break them down.
First, you have crystal healing, which is the use of stones for energetic, physical, and metaphysical support. Second, you have witchcraft, which in this context is defined as the intentional use of ritual, natural forces, and focused human will to create change and alignment with one's highest good.
So it's not about cauldrons and curses.
Exactly. It's about directing intention through natural mediums.
And what I find so compelling is the scientific mechanism proposed behind this. It doesn't ask you to just blindly believe in magic.
No, not at all.
It roots the practice in basic physics, specifically the concept of frequency and resonance. I mean, everything in the physical world, down to the subatomic level, is in a state of vibration.
This is where the molecular structure of crystals becomes vital. Unlike glass or plastic, which have chaotic, random molecular structures, crystals have a highly ordered, perfectly repeating molecular lattice.
Very organized internal structure.
Yes. And because their internal structure is so incredibly stable, they vibrate at a very specific, unwavering frequency.
The ultimate proof of this is timekeeping. The molecular lattice of a quartz crystal is so precise in its vibration that we literally run an electrical current through it to keep time in watches and computers.
It's the heartbeat of modern technology.
Literally. If the vibration of a piece of quartz is reliable enough to keep global computer networks ticking in perfect synchronization, the idea of using that exact same stable frequency to anchor a personal intention or stabilize a chaotic room starts to sound much more like applied physics than fantasy.
It's an elegant bridge between the material sciences and metaphysical practice. And our ancestors, even without scanning electron microscopes, understood this stability intuitively.
They felt it.
They did. If we look at the historical timeline, the application of these stones is incredibly consistent. In ancient Egypt, crystal use was integrated into the highest levels of their spiritual and medical architecture.
Yeah, the sources talk about lapis lazuli.
Right, they didn't just think lapis lazuli was beautiful, they believed it literally held the frequency of the night sky and divine wisdom.
And they used carnelian for vitality and protection. Their priests were essentially energetic pharmacists, assigning specific mineral frequencies to specific ailments or spiritual deficits.
That's a great way to put it, energetic pharmacists.
And that methodology carried right over into ancient Greece and Rome. They were actively observing the effects of stones and recording them. The name amethyst literally comes from the Greek amethystos, meaning not drunk.
Right, because they believed the frequency of the stone could override the intoxicating effects of alcohol.
And promote extreme mental clarity.
And this rigorous observation continued into medieval Europe with the creation of lapidaries, which were massive, detailed encyclopedias of stones and their perceived properties.
So people were writing literal textbooks on this.
Oh, extensively. You have figures like Hildegard von Bingen, a 12th century abbess, composer, and philosopher. She wrote the Physica, where she documented the medical and spiritual uses of dozens of stones.
Wow.
In her worldview, the earth was a divine pharmacy, and stones were concentrated nodes of earthly power.
So how does a person in 2026 participate in that lineage? How do you take thousands of years of recorded human interaction with these minerals and actually apply it to your own life without getting totally overwhelmed?
Because it is a lot of information.
It's an immense amount of data, but the answer provided in Rob's newsletter is the Book of Shadows.
The Book of Shadows is fundamentally a personal grimoire, but perhaps a better way to understand it in a modern context is to think of it like an open-source code repository for your spiritual practice.
I absolutely love that analogy. You aren't just passively reading a textbook. You are taking the base code, which is the historical properties of the stone, and you are running it in your own life to see what happens.
Exactly. You log the inputs and the outputs. A well-maintained Book of Shadows includes your personal crystal correspondences. So, Hildegard von Bingen might say amethyst does one thing, but you record exactly how a specific piece of amethyst feels in your hand, in your environment.
Because it might act differently for you.
Yes. You record grid designs, which are essentially the architectural blueprints of your intentions. You track the moon phases, the specific rituals you perform, and the real-world outcomes.
It is a rigorous, deeply personal system of documentation. You are compiling a version of this ancient knowledge that is custom-tailored to the specific bugs and features of your own life.
It takes the guesswork out of it.
But writing down a blueprint in a Book of Shadows doesn't actually change the room you're sitting in. You have to take those concepts off the page and physicalize them, which brings us to the actual mechanics of directing this energy, starting with crystal grids.
Right. A crystal grid is essentially a community of crystals living and working together toward a singular purpose.
A community. That's a great visual.
It is a highly intentional physical arrangement of stones, and the methodology suggests that a successful grid operates through the convergence of three distinct forces.
Okay, let's break this down. The first force is the inherent frequency of the individual stones, which we've covered. You pick the right tools for the job.
Right.
The second force is sacred geometry. This is the actual physical pattern you arrange the stones in, shapes like the flower of life or Metatron's cube.
The underlying theory of sacred geometry is that these specific patterns are the fundamental building blocks of the universe. They govern how cells divide, how planets orbit, and how light refracts.
They are everywhere in nature.
Exactly. By arranging your stones along these geometric lines, you are aligning their individual frequencies with the foundational harmonics of the natural world. You are basically building an energetic circuit board.
And the third force, which is the catalyst that turns the whole thing on, is the practitioner's intention.
The human element.
The human mind is the power source. You have to come to the grid with a deeply felt singular focus. The grid is just an antenna. Your intention is the signal being broadcast.
And this concept of a broadcast antenna scales into one of the most debated areas of metaphysical practice, which is crystal grid distant healing.
This is fascinating.
This is the idea that a practitioner can build and activate a grid in one physical location to facilitate healing or emotional release for a person on the other side of the planet.
Okay, if I'm a skeptic listening to this, the idea that a crystal layout in Taylorsville, Utah is going to cure my insomnia in London sounds like a massive stretch.
It sounds totally implausible at first glance.
How do we explain the mechanics of that without just saying, well, it's magic?
We have to look at it through the lens of non-local energy and psychological focus. In quantum physics, we know that particles can become entangled, meaning the state of one particle instantly influences the state of another, regardless of the physical distance between them.
Right, spooky action at a distance, as Einstein called it.
Exactly. While we can't definitively say a crystal grid operates on literal quantum entanglement, it provides a powerful conceptual metaphor. Distant healing operates on the premise that consciousness and intention are not strictly bound by physical geography.
So the grid acts as a focal point for the practitioner's consciousness, directing a concentrated wave of intention toward the recipient.
Yes.
And on the recipient's end, the knowledge that this intensive, focused ritual is being performed for their benefit can trigger a profound psychological and psychosomatic relaxation response. The recipient's nervous system receives the permission it needs to finally release trauma or just fall asleep.
Exactly. The ritual creates the framework for the healing to occur. We see a much more localized physical version of this in Crystal Reiki.
Let's talk about that.
Traditional Reiki is the practice of channeling ambient life force energy through the practitioner's hands into the recipient. Crystal Reiki supercharges this by placing specifically chosen stones on the recipient's energy centers, or chakras, and channeling the Reiki through the stones.
And this is where the physics of the piezoelectric effect comes roaring back into the conversation.
One of my favorite concepts.
It's so cool. Piezoelectricity is a scientifically documented phenomenon where applying mechanical pressure to certain crystal structures, especially quartz, generates a literal electrical charge.
It's how electric cigarette lighters work.
Right. You click the button, a tiny hammer hits a quartz crystal, it generates a spark, and it ignites the gas.
So in a Crystal Reiki session, you have the biological, bioelectric energy of the practitioner's hands applying subtle physical and energetic pressure to the stones resting on the recipient's body.
Oh, wow.
The theory is that this interaction triggers a subtle piezoelectric response, translating the practitioner's intention into a literal, localized electrical and energetic frequency that the recipient's cellular structure can easily absorb and utilize.
It is a stunning combination of human empathy and mineral physics, but there is a massive philosophical rule that governs this kind of work, and it's the concept of detachment from outcome.
This is perhaps the most important ethical and practical guideline in energy work. The practitioner is not a surgeon forcing a specific result.
They aren't in there trying to fix one specific gear.
Exactly. The practitioner's only job is to create the absolute optimal energetic conditions. They set the stage, they provide the frequency, but the recipient's own body and subconscious mind are the active healers. You have to trust that the energy will go exactly where it is most needed, which might not be where the recipient thinks they need it.
But there is a glaring problem with everything we just talked about. You can build the most precise, geologically perfect quartz grid in the world, and you can channel Reiki with perfect detachment. But if you set all of this up in a room where you just had a screaming match with your spouse, or a room where you've been sitting and agonizing over your taxes for 3 days, it's like trying to play a delicate violin concerto in the middle of a wind tunnel.
That's a perfect analogy. The environment will completely drown out the intention.
Which brings us to the absolute necessity of space clearing, or energetic hygiene. We understand that our physical spaces accumulate dust, but they also accumulate emotional residue.
Oh, absolutely. Human nervous systems are incredibly sensitive. We pick up on pheromones, micro-expressions, and the lingering tension in a room.
You can feel it when you walk into a room after an argument.
You can cut the tension with a knife. When an environment is saturated with the residue of stress, fear, or anger, it feels heavy. It feels stagnant. Space clearing is the physical and intentional ritual of resetting the environment's baseline frequency.
It's essentially wiping the slate clean so your actual intentions have room to breathe. And the toolkit for this is highly systematized. You don't just wave a rock around. There is a specific architecture to energetic hygiene. First, you have selenite.
Selenite is the absolute gold standard for clearing. Its molecular structure has this incredibly fine, high-vibration quality that acts like an energetic sheer curtain. You place it in the corners of a room or along windowsills.
Just creating a boundary.
Yes, and the unique property of selenite is that it is self-clearing. It continuously filters and purifies the ambient energy without ever becoming clogged or needing to be energetically cleansed itself.
It's the air purifier that never needs a filter change.
Exactly.
But while selenite is gently clearing the inside, you need something to guard the perimeter. That's where black tourmaline comes in. You place this at doorways and entry points. Black tourmaline is an energetic threshold guardian.
It's the bouncer of the crystal world.
The bouncer, I love that. Its dense, iron-rich structure is highly absorptive, designed to catch and neutralize dense, chaotic, or negative energy before it can even cross into your living space.
Once the perimeter is secure and the ambient air is cleared, you use clear quartz placed centrally in the room to broadcast and amplify whatever positive intention you want to set. You might add amethyst in common areas like a living room to downregulate the nervous system and promote calm communication.
And finally, smoky quartz. This is crucial for the modern home. The recommendation is to place smoky quartz near your electronics, your Wi-Fi router, your workspace.
Because of all that frantic energy.
Exactly. Its specific frequency is incredibly grounding, and it acts as an energetic heat sink, transmuting the frantic, buzzing, lower frequency energies of our digital lives into neutral, grounded earth energy.
It is a comprehensive, multi-layered approach to environmental control. And once you understand how these tools function, once you grasp the mechanics of gridding, the physics of Reiki, and the necessity of space clearing, it profoundly changes how you look at the raw materials themselves.
It really does.
You stop seeing them as decorations and start seeing them as highly specialized instruments.
Exactly. Which is why looking at the specific new arrivals for this mid-2026 drop is so compelling. We aren't just looking at a catalog. We're looking at the new instruments being added to the orchestra.
I'm so excited to talk about these.
And the first one takes us right back to the concept of deep time. We are talking about the Orthosauros bowls from Morocco.
This is a breathtaking piece of planetary history. Orthosauros were prehistoric cephalopod mollusks. Imagine a modern squid, but encased in a long, straight, cone-like shell.
Okay, I have that picture in my head.
These creatures swam in the primordial oceans during the Ordovician period, approximately 400 million years ago.
Just pause and try to comprehend that timeline. 400 million years. That is so far back in the geological record that it predates the very first dinosaur by hundreds of millions of years.
It's almost unfathomable.
And the fossilization process of these creatures is a miracle of chemistry. When they died, they sank to the bottom of the ocean floor. Over eons, as sediment buried them, the immense pressure of the ocean turned that sediment into limestone, and mineral-rich water slowly, cell by cell, replaced the organic material of their shells with calcite and silica.
They were literally turned to stone by the pressure of the ocean. And now in 2026, those ancient seabeds in Morocco are desert mountains, and these fossils are being excavated and carved into shallow bowls.
The journey these objects have been on is just wild.
Right. To place one of these on an altar or a table in your home is to install a permanent anchor to deep time. In a world where our attention spans are measured in seconds, holding a 400-million-year-old survivor of multiple planetary mass extinctions forces a profound shift in perspective.
It instantly shrinks modern anxieties down to size. Like, oh, you're stressed about an email. This thing survived the Earth freezing over.
Exactly. It really puts things in perspective.
So from the ancient oceans of Morocco, we jump straight into the blistering heat of the American Southwest with the Pecos diamonds. I had never actually encountered these before, and their formation is fascinating.
They are a very specialized, highly localized geological occurrence. They are found almost exclusively in the gypsum deposits scattered along the Pecos River Valley in New Mexico. And despite the colloquial name diamonds, they are actually quartz crystals.
Okay, so they're not diamonds.
No, not carbon. But what makes them entirely unique is the environment they grow in.
Right, because usually quartz grows in clusters, attached to a host rock matrix, and then miners break them off, leaving a flat base and a single point at the top.
Like the typical crystal points you see in a shop.
But Pecos diamonds form independently, suspended in soft gypsum clay. Because they aren't attached to a base rock, they grow points on both ends. They are naturally doubly terminated.
Energetically, a doubly terminated crystal is a completely self-contained circuit. It can transmit and receive energy simultaneously from both ends.
It doesn't just broadcast, it cycles.
Yes, exactly. And visually, they don't look like clear quartz. They have this incredible, rusty, brownish-orange color, which is a direct result of natural iron oxide inclusions.
Literal rust.
Literal rust, raking into the crystal structure in the desert heat. They carry the expansive, surviving, sun-baked energy of the Chihuahuan Desert.
And the curation continues to balance these raw, earthy elements with highly refined pieces. For instance, the peach quartz faceted gems from Brazil. This isn't a raw specimen, this is precision lapidary work.
It's beautifully done.
There is a specific 14 millimeter, 9.6 carat trillion cut gem highlighted here, and the intention behind this stone is highly specific. Because of the natural trace inclusions of iron and lithium, which is a mineral used medically to stabilize moods, this peach quartz targets the energetic intersection between the heart chakra and the solar plexus.
Which is a very sensitive area for a lot of people.
Very. It's meant to harmonize your emotional empathy with your personal creative willpower.
It's a stone of emotional sovereignty. And if we move from the light of the peach quartz into deeper, darker psychological work, we find the panther jasper from Nepal.
Oh, this one is intense.
This is a tumbled stone with striking brown, black, and white patterns that genuinely resemble the coat of a big cat.
The psychological framing for this stone is serious. It's referred to as a tool for shadow navigation and shamanic journey work. The visual metaphor of the panther is applied to the energy of the stone. It embodies the energy of an apex predator.
Patient, deeply grounded, entirely silent.
And capable of seeing perfectly in the dark. It's for the practitioner who needs to sit quietly and observe their own subconscious without fear.
And sticking with the profound metaphors of the natural world, we have orca agate from Madagascar. This is a chalcedony stone patterned in stark black, white, and translucent gray, mirroring the markings of an orca whale. But the specific piece that commands attention here is a 6.6-ounce carving shaped like a mushroom.
The mushroom shape is no accident.
Not at all.
The carving itself dictates how the energy is meant to be used. A mushroom is just the fruiting body of a massive, hidden, underground mycelial network. Mycelium connects entire forests, transferring nutrients and information beneath the soil.
The Wood Wide Web.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So an orca agate mushroom carving becomes a physical representation of hidden connections, of the fluid, oceanic depths of the subconscious mind connecting to the broader world. It's about finding stability in the unseen.
And for those who are highly sensitive to the unseen, the people whose nervous systems are constantly absorbing the emotions of everyone in the room, there is a highly practical tool offered, the grounded empath oil.
I think the description of this oil is brilliant. It's called a kinetic firewall for your biofield.
It sounds so high-tech.
It does. It's a botanical blend, but it actually contains physical pieces of black tourmaline inside the bottle. So you apply this to your pulse points before you walk into a crowded grocery store or a tense family gathering.
Using that bouncer energy.
Yes, it's using the absorptive guarding properties of tourmaline to establish a literal energetic boundary on your skin, allowing you to move through chaotic environments without your empathy draining your battery.
Finally, to inject some absolute levity and joy into the heavy work of 2026, there are the sacral stones. You have orange selenite from Morocco, which takes the high-frequency, icy clearing power of white selenite and warms it up with the activating, passionate energy of iron inclusions.
So it's clearing but energetic.
Exactly. And you pair that with a raw orange calcite from Brazil, which is essentially crystallized sunshine. It is straightforward, uncomplicated, creative joy.
And it's worth noting that alongside all of these geological tools, this drop also includes access to Norse rune oracle readings.
Right, tapping into a different tradition.
So if a practitioner wants to use one of the oldest Germanic divination systems to pinpoint exactly which of these stones they need for their specific career or relationship hurdles, that ancient technology is available to them.
It is an overwhelming amount of support. We are talking about anchors to deep time, kinetic firewalls, shadow navigators, and metamorphic resilience.
It's a whole toolkit.
And this raises the ultimate question of this entire deep dive. Why is this massive, heavy arsenal of energetic tools so incredibly vital right now?
Right. Why June of 2026? To understand that, we have to look at the macro environment. We have to look up from the Earth and out into the cosmos, because the contextual framework for all of this is laid out in a blog post from Rob earlier in the year, unpacking the astrology of 2026.
Yes. 2026 is the year of the fire horse in the Chinese astrological system. And to understand why that matters, we have to understand that Chinese metaphysics doesn't view time as just a linear counting of days.
It's not just a clock ticking.
No, time is cyclical, and it has a specific elemental flavor. The calendar is a highly sophisticated cartography of energy. It maps the shifting tides of cosmic influence so you know exactly what kind of current you are swimming in.
And the current of the Firehorse is arguably one of the most intense, volatile signatures in the entire 60-year cycle. You combine fire, which is the element of raw passion, aggressive ambition, burning away the old, and rapid transformation.
And you combine that with the horse.
Right. And the archetype of the horse represents absolute freedom, unbridled speed, and sudden, unpredictable changes in direction.
When you put those two together, you get an energy that is simultaneously thrilling and entirely destabilizing. It's a wildfire moving at a gallop.
Wow, a wildfire moving at a gallop. That perfectly describes the vibe right now.
Everything in 2026 feels like it is burning hot and moving entirely too fast. People are making sudden life changes, global structures are shifting rapidly, and the baseline anxiety of the collective is redlining.
Which explains exactly why we just spent an hour talking about 400-million-year-old fossils and metamorphic rock forged under pressure. When the sky is on fire and the ground is moving, you don't reach for a kite, you reach for an anvil.
Exactly.
You need profound, heavy, ancient grounding to keep from being swept away.
And that fiery momentum is complicated by the lingering emotional undercurrents of the year, specifically tied to the lunar cycles. The material highlights the pink full moon from April of 2026.
And it's fascinating that in a June release, they are still tracking the reverberations of an April moon.
It is, but it makes sense when you understand the mechanics of it. The pink moon isn't named because the moon physically turned pink. It's a botanical marker.
Oh, like tracking the seasons?
Right. It's named for the wild ground phlox, which is one of the very first flowers to aggressively bloom in the early spring.
Oh, I've seen that. It represents the violent, beautiful bursting forth of life after the stagnation of winter. The energetic themes of that specific lunation were about extreme heart chakra activation, breaking through emotional frost and spiritual rebirth.
So you have this tender, vulnerable, emotional blooming happening right in the middle of a galloping fire horse year.
Oh, man.
It is a recipe for energetic exhaustion.
Which brings us to the core ethos of Crystals by Rob and why this specific curation matters. In a marketplace that is absolutely flooded with anonymous big box warehouses, cheap synthetic knockoffs, and fleeting social media aesthetic trends, providing these specific intentional tools is an act of rebellion.
It is a statement of values. The shop is asserting that in a disposable, high-speed world, the origin, the handling, and the intention behind the physical objects you bring into your home actually matter.
They aren't just selling pretty things.
By hand-selecting these pieces and providing the deep historical and geological context for them, they are ensuring that the stones carry a clean, deliberate frequency.
Okay, we have covered an absolute universe of material today. Let's try to synthesize the sheer scale of the journey we just took.
It was quite a journey.
We started miles beneath the Earth's crust, examining the unimaginable heat and metamorphic pressure required to forge the green rays of actinolite. We followed the historical lineage of that tough, fibrous mineral into the hands of Chinese emperors sewing burial suits for eternity.
And Maori warriors carving their ancestral mana into green stone pendants.
From there, we unpacked the actual physics of crystal witchcraft. We explored how the perfect molecular lattice of quartz, which drives our modern digital clocks, is the exact same stabilizing mechanism our ancestors used to anchor their intentions.
We examined the rigorous open-source documentation of the Book of Shadows.
And the mechanics of directing energy through the sacred geometry of grids and the piezoelectric charge of crystal Reiki. We confronted the stagnant energy of our own living rooms with selenite and tourmaline.
We held the crushing weight of deep time by looking at a 400-million-year-old Orthoceras fossil from a vanished ocean.
And we examined the self-contained energetic circuits of doubly terminated Pecos diamonds baking in the New Mexico sun.
And we tied all of those grounding terrestrial tools directly to the frantic, galloping, transformative astrology of the 2026 year of the Fire Horse, proving exactly why this specific curation of heavy, ancient energy is so desperately needed right now.
It is a breathtaking synthesis of geology, history, physics, and human belief. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you, the listener, with one final thought to mull over. We spent all this time dissecting the what and the how of these stones.
The chemistry, the physics.
The chemical compositions, the historical timelines, all of it. But I wanted to think about the why.
Because for thousands and thousands of years, from the ancient priests walking the temples of Egypt, to the Olmec artisans carving masks in the jungle, to a modern person in 2026 setting up a crystal grid on their apartment floor, humanity has consistently, desperately reached down into the dirt to find stones to help navigate the absolute chaos of being alive.
It's not just a trend, it's a biological and psychological imperative.
It is. And in a world that is only getting faster, where our memories are digital, where our relationships are mediated by screens, and where the energy of the time demands constant, exhausting transformation, perhaps our enduring fascination with crystals isn't really about the pursuit of magic at all.
Oh, wow.
Perhaps it is a deep, unshakable psychological need to hold on to something physically permanent, something undeniably ancient, a solid, unyielding piece of the earth that silently assures us that, despite all the fire and chaos on the surface, the ground beneath our feet remains firm, and we are going to survive it.
I think that is exactly it. When you pick up that stone, you aren't just holding a rock. You are holding a 400-million-year-old memory that fundamentally refuses to fade. Thank you so much for joining us on this massive journey today. Remember, the stones are always waiting. Keep exploring, stay grounded, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.